All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit here and move away from talking about inequalities and talking about absolute value equations. So we want to be able to solve absolute value equation. That's it. We're going to just do a quick introduction to these guys and pick them back up later when we start talking about graphing functions. Okay? First of all, absolute value. What does it mean? Well, the absolute value is a number's distance from zero. So distance, what's the story with that? If I were to talk about -6 and 6, well, how many units away from 0 is 6? Well, it's 6 units away. How many units from 0 is -6? Well, it's 6 units away, right? Distance is always positive. It doesn't matter if I drive in the positive direction or drive in the negative direction. I'm going the same distance. It's the same thing. Okay? So we need to keep that in mind. And for that reason, absolute value quantity is positive because distance cannot be negative. No one lives -7 miles from the school. So whether you're driving along the positive side of the number line or the negative side, you're going the same distance, and that distance is always positive. Okay? So we have to know what absolute value is first. So here's number 1. And what number 1's asking is, because there's those absolute value bars, absolute value is distance, and we want that distance to be 6. Well, I kind of just gave it away. But what numbers are 6 units away from 0 on the number line? Well, obviously, 6 is 6 units away from 0 on the number line. Well, so is -6. -6 is 6 units away from the number line, from 0 on the number line. So think about this as your distance, right? Now, the distance can never be negative, but the numbers that go inside the absolute value bars may be negative. That's okay. So basically what we're doing is we're finding out the distance. We're taking the absolute value and making sure it's equal to a particular distance. Once it's there, we're going to split, right? Because we know that 6 and -6 are both 6 units away from 0. They're both at a distance of 6 from 0. So we're going to split our equation, and whatever's inside the absolute value bars, we're going to set equal to the positive and the negative version of that distance, because we know that we can go either direction, positive direction or negative direction, and travel the same distance. Okay? So, if I've got -4x, absolute value of -4x equals 24, right? Well, 24 is the distance, right? So without even considering what's inside of here, that absolute value bar means that I'm going to drive to the right and to the left of the number line from 0 and travel a distance of 24. So that means I can go to 24 or I can go to -24 and still be at a distance of 24 from 0. Now, what's inside those bars is what's going to help me find solutions. What values of x are going to work for this equation? So, split and solve basically is what I'm saying. As long as the absolute value bars are by themselves, then we split our equation up and set whatever's inside the bars equal to the positive and the negative version of that distance. We've spent a ton of time explaining why that is. And so our two solutions are going to be, hey, look at that again, 6 and -6. Okay? So split and solve. Absolute value equals 17. Right? Well, that means c plus 9 is going to be equal to 17. And c plus 9 can be equal to -17 because we can go either direction on the number line and be 17 units away, positive or negative. So subtract 9 from both sides and you get 8 here. Subtract 9 from both sides and you get -26 here. So there are your two solutions. But before you can solve, you've got to split them. You've got to split the equation up and then go solve. Don't try to solve first. Okay? Next one. Absolute value of 2x plus 1 equals 13. Absolute value bars are by themselves. Split and solve. And when you split, you set this equal to negative 13 and positive 13. Then subtract 1 here. Divide by 2 here. X is 6. Subtract 1 here. Divide by 2 here. And x is negative 7. So your two solutions are 6 and negative 7. Okay? Try this one. See what you come up with. Stop the video, then start it back up and see how you did. Did you get this? X is 13, x is negative 13. Okay? Again, split and solve. Absolute value is equal to 39. Split them. 3x is equal to 39, 3x is equal to negative 39, and then go solve. Okay? Got another one here. Give this a shot. Did you get 12 and negative 22? Split and solve. Okay? Number 7, as you do it one more time. Give that a shot. Okay? X is 5, x is negative 4. Split and then solve. Don't try to solve first. Right? 4x minus 2 is equal to 18. 4x minus 2 is equal to negative 18. So split and solve. All right? Now, these have been multi-step absolute value equations, but now we're going to talk about if your absolute value bars are not equal to the distance already. Okay, what should we do then? Well, we got to get the absolute value signs alone. Got to get solved for those. Get rid of any addition, subtraction first, and then any multiplication around those bars. And then we'll split and solve, right? Because we can, knowing that we can go left or right on the number line and travel the same distance. Okay, so for example, this guy, right? You could try to treat this as one giant x. If that were 3x minus 1 equals 8, what would you do first? 3x minus 1 equals 8. Well, you would add 1 to both sides first, right? We're going to do the same thing here. Absolute value bars are not alone. They're not by themselves. So we don't know what distance we're trying to drive right now. So we got to add the 1, then divide by the 3. And now that we've got the absolute value bars alone, now I know I want to travel a distance of 3 from 0 on the number line. And so I know that I can go in the positive direction or the negative direction and travel the same distance. So we split and solve. Subtract 2 from both sides on both equations, and you get 1 and negative 5. Okay? No problem. Piece of cake. Try this guy. What are you going to do first? Then what are you going to do? Okay? Get those bars by themselves. You got to undo the addition first. Then divide by 2, divide by 2. Now we know that we want to be a distance of 2 from 0 on the number line, so I'm going to travel right and then travel left. Subtract 9, subtract 9, and negative 7, negative 11 are your two solutions. Okay? Fractions. Uh-oh. Fractions. What are you going to do here? Well, I still want to do this the same way I've been talking about before. Make this absolute value bars have a denominator of 1, and then get a common denominator. Common denominator is 9. So in this first one, I got to multiply the numerator by 9 and the denominator by 9. In the next fraction, I got to multiply the numerator by 3 and the denominator by 3 to make it have a denominator of 9. And the 4/9 already has a denominator of 9, so I'm done. Then I'm going to drop the denominators and get this. And then I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides because now I got to get the absolute value bars by themselves. divide by 9, divide by 9. Now I know that I'm trying to travel a ninth, 1/9 units from 0 on the number line, and I can do that by going to positive 1/9, or I can do that by going to negative 1/9. And there are my two solutions. Okay? All right. One here for you to try to solve. So give it a shot, stop the video, and I'll show you what you should come up with. There you go. You should have come up with 7 and negative 1, and that's how you would have done so. So look that over. Is that what you did? I hope so. Some more practice. Here's another one. Stop the video, and then we'll go and then check your answers by starting it back up. There you go. X should be negative 3 and X should be negative 13. Those are your two solutions. And you can see what I've done here. Subtract the 5 first, divide by the negative 3 next, then split and solve. X plus 8 wanted to be a distance of 5 from 0 on the number line, so we set it equal to 5 and negative 5, because those two numbers are a distance from 5 on the number line. Okay? Ooh, another fraction. Take care of that fraction problem, and then start the video back up. All right. Did you happen to get stuck anywhere? We've got to be careful not to put blinders on, right? When we do this and we get the absolute value bars by themselves, we get to right here. And what that means is X wants to travel, or X wants to be a distance of negative 1/3 from 0. Again, how many of you guys live negative 7 miles from the school? Nobody does, because you don't travel negative distances. So can absolute value of anything be negative 1/3? No, it can't. So this is your first exposure to the fact that it is possible to have no solution. There is no number I can plug in for X right now, take the absolute value of it, and get negative 1/3. Can't do it, because the absolute value is always positive. So make sure you're paying attention. Once you get the absolute value bars by themselves, look and see. Right? Is it equal to a negative number? Are we wanting to be a negative distance from 0? If it is, then it's no solution. Okay? And it works the same way here. We know that looking at this, we want to subtract 5 from both sides. And so that gives me the absolute value of X is equal to negative 2. Again, I cannot be negative 2 units away from 0. So this is no solution. Okay? But we're not going to know that we're trying to be a negative distance from 0 until the absolute value is by itself. Because it's only when the absolute value bars are by themselves do I really know what distance that absolute value is wanting to be. Okay? And it doesn't matter how you get there. Like here with the fractions, I'll make this 4/1. The least common denominator is negative 2. So I've got to multiply. This guy right here stays the same because it already has a denominator of negative 2. Now I've got to multiply the numerator here and the denominator by negative 2. Then I drop the denominators, and so I'm left with absolute value of X is equal to negative 8. Again, can't do that. Absolute value cannot be negative. So this is no solution. Okay? Same deal here. Subtract 3/4, subtract 3/4. Absolute value of X is equal to negative 3/4. Can't do it because it's still a negative. And so this is no solution. These are quick. If you solve for the absolute value bars and then you look at this and you're equal to a negative number, then it's simply no solution. Okay, multiply 3, multiply 3. It doesn't matter how you approach this. Absolute value of X is equal to negative 6. That's got to be no solution. Absolute value bars cannot be negative. Okay? And that's all there is to it. Okay? Just solving some equations this way. Homework is out in Canvas. Make sure you have that done by next time.